cloudy about 45 seconds ago. Now it's kind of sunny-ish, kind of cloudy-ish. Then it was raining, and now it's sunny again. I don't know. That's the kind of day it's been. I'm just going to show you something there before we get into the video. I know. It's like, why just get a video? I got valuable internet time you're wasting. Okay. Just want to show you the beautiful green. That's like one day of, like, a fair amount of rain. Just like one day. Basically, the grass has grown 4 inches in one day. Like, just had to show you that. It's kind of nice. Actually, I should be outside anyway, but I really don't know what's going to do. It's going to get cloudy, and I don't think it's supposed to really clear till tomorrow. So anyway, let's get into this. Elizabeth May, she is basically the leader of the Green Party. The Green Party, basically, they're so far left, you pretty much got to feed them with a slingshot. I wouldn't call them Marxist. I wouldn't call them... they're definitely socialist. I mean, one of the platforms that Elizabeth May goes on is basically how to increase, welfare benefits, unemployment insurance, and stuff like that. Again, rather than worry about creating jobs and stuff like that, it's always more welfare and bigger government. And it's not sustainable. One thing, sometimes she does make good points, I'll give her that. I do agree, yes, we do need to restore the Bank of Canada. I still don't know how that lawsuit's turning out. They're keeping an awful big hush-hush on that. I can't see it ever, the globalists will never allow the Bank of Canada to be restored. That would be too much sovereignty for our country, I think. Maybe someday we'll get an actual leader that is, cares about the country and not, globalism. But, we've set ourselves up for globalism, so we have to ease our way out of that to get rid of it all in one night while it'll collapse the economy. So you've got to be sensible about these things. But the kind of social justice warrior mentality, or what I call the communist student or whatever, sometimes comes out in this lady. And I'll be honest with you, I don't follow her that much because she's not official opposition and stuff like that. And some people say, well, they don't let her in on the debates and stuff like that. But she's not the opposition party. Like she's elected, sure, but she's not very high on the food chain there. So Parliament's still following its protocol. So if it was there's other parties that are elected that are very, very, very small, even smaller than the Green Party, and they don't get a say in the leader debates and stuff like that either. So. So it is what it is, right? So, but I think this it's going to be something that anybody that was voting for the Green Party might think second. Well, I don't know. It's hard to say because usually when they're that far left, they're voting based upon emotion, nothing to do with common sense whatsoever. Now, her so-called attempt at being funny speech, you could clearly tell that's damage control. That's she wasn't trying to be funny. She was being snarky. I didn't see the whole speech, but just the bit I saw of it. Well, number one, running over time in this kind of speech, different party members from different parties, get to basically do this big lunch or whatever, and they go up and they talk. And I guess I don't know what the whole event's really about. I mean, other than pandering to people that waste of taxpayers' dollars, in my opinion. Because it's not really campaigning. It's not really doing. It's again, a waste of taxpayers' dollars. But anyway, point is she's there. She's going on about bleep the Parliament, the House, and whatever. And Omar Khadr has more class than Harper, that type of thing. And welcome home Omar Khadr and stuff like that. That is what scares me. Why? Because this lady actually meant that. She wasn't trying to be funny. You could tell when somebody's trying to be funny. That she wasn't trying to. She even sounded a little bit slurred. Maybe, who knows? She said, okay, well, there was no. I wasn't drunk. There was a little bit of. I had some wine, but I had a cold, and excuse after excuse. I'd love to see a politician just come and say, you know what? I really screwed up. I am so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. My bad. I did it. I have nobody to blame but me. People would actually respect that. People would actually say, fall on your sword once in a while. Don't scapegoat it. Oh, it's because I had a cold. Oh, I was just trying to be funny and it didn't work. Oh, well. No. She meant what she said. That's the part you need to focus on, is she meant what she said. So what does that mean? Well, that means that if she was running the country, How many more terrorists would she be letting in? Yes, Omar Khadr is a terrorist. I mean, yes, I understand, and I did a video on it a couple of days ago. Okay, here's what happened with him if you're not sure who he is. Basically, not to divert too much, but basically him and his dad and I think his brother went over to fight in Afghanistan or Iraq, I think it's Afghanistan, and the fighting that ensued, the kid grabbed a grenade when he was 15 years old. He threw it. He killed a army medic, and then got arrested. Ended up in Guantanamo Bay, and then from Guantanamo Bay, for some reason, we fought to get him back here to serve a sentence here. I have no idea why. And again, this was NDP. I can imagine the Liberals and all that. I mean, it's different if you're trying to free somebody in Tibet, for like a political. A political dissident, that's different. I mean, okay, well, maybe you agree with their politics, maybe you don't, but it's a lot different than somebody, basically a child soldier, which I made a video on child soldiers there just recently from the making of this video. And the thing is the dangers of that bleeding heart liberalism, it doesn't allow people to think clearly. So that means she would probably have an immigration status that basically anybody and everybody, and you have to discriminate to a point, not based on gender or race or anything like that. You have to discriminate based on credibility, and that's kind of the immigration system we kind of have now. Problem with our immigration system is we're just bringing in too many people. 250,000 a year is just way too much for our economy. We can't sustain that. We're starting to actually, I think the visas of 400,000 migrant workers, basically their temporary visas have run out, and they're sending some back. Why are we bringing in migrant workers anyway? Oh, well, they'll do the jobs the other people won't do. Well, there's two problems with this. Number one, if you have welfare recipients, okay, you could say you change those laws. You don't need to bring more people in. You say, hey, look, we'll give you 6 months to find your own job. After that, we'll find a job for you. Hey, this fast food place needs an employee. Go there. And if you don't go there, you lose your benefits, that type of thing. Oh, well, they shouldn't have to work for minimum wage or whatever. Well, people work for minimum wage. It's not, excuse after excuse, To me, there's you shouldn't want to stay on welfare anyway. You're never going to go anywhere. It's not a living. You can do more for yourself. So sometimes people need a little bit of a push. So they could do it that way. The other thing they could do is, okay, temporary foreign workers, you want to bring them in? Bring them in, maybe only if it's something that we just cannot find anybody in the country to do. But the service sector industry, like fast food restaurants and stuff like that, we can't get people to fill the positions. Well, here's the thing. Don't bring in migrant workers to fill that. What you do is let them push up the wages a bit. That's the whole reason why the wages stay low, is because we bring in migrant workers that will work for those wages, rather than saying, how about these people pay a little more to their employees, then people will apply for the jobs. It's kind of simple, People go where the money is, and you have to obviously offset that in your cost. Sure, I get that, but that's the whole thing. There's other ways, but with the Liberals, the NDP, particularly, who want to bring in 500,000 people a year, I have a feeling the Green Party would just open door, and that would be completely disastrous. We've already seen how disastrous it is over in Europe. Who has, and most of the countries in Europe don't have the mass immigration that we have. We're not going to feel it for another maybe 5-10 years, where we're going to start to see a cultural shift, and the cultural shift will also lead to cultural clashes. I'm thinking right now in the UK, with what's going on there after their election, this is the beginning of a massive culture clash about to happen. Why? Because the Cameron government they have now for the next 5 years isn't going to obviously get strict on immigration, and that's the kind of, their open door immigration is not sustainable in the first place. Too many people, not enough jobs, not enough healthcare, not enough, right? You're going to get a culture clash. Plus, you're bringing all people in from, pretty much one area. You're going to get a culture clash. Why? You're displacing your population. So this is what worries about things like Elizabeth May and stuff like that, and these lefties. Yeah, they come out social justice warriors, and we believe in equality and all that, but they don't have any practical sense. It's all, what they're trying to do is tell you how good of a person they are. I'm such a good person because I'm fighting for these people and stuff, rather than say, okay, let's look at this practically. I don't care who you are, where you come from. But when you get here, I want to make sure you have a good job, number one. I I want to make sure you have opportunity. Number two, I want to make sure that you're not infringing on, my retirement, my healthcare, stuff like that. And I want to make sure I have stuff too. I don't want to have to put myself out for you. A step up, not, a hand up, not a handout. You know what I mean? That type of thing. But they don't see it that way. They see it as if you don't have mass immigration, you're racist and bigot. But it's such a from a country point of view, it's a death knell for a country to do that, because you're going to get a revolution at some point, maybe not right away, but give it maybe 10 years, 20 years, you're going to have mass movements ripping your country apart. So, again, that's what happens when you do a demographic change. So, tying her comments into immigration might seem like a bit of a stretch for some people, but it kind of gives you the idea of how these people think. They get this kind of Moby Dick kind of attitude where they got to get that great white whale at all cost to prove they're right. And the thing is when we're looking at, somebody who's sympathizing with the terrorist, in a sense, again, I do understand the Omar Khadr thing is a very, delicate topic in the sense that, okay, yeah, he was a childhood soldier, so technically, would he have done this had he not been brainwashed by his dad? Probably not. But at the end of the day, he's still a murderer. And she wants to bring in people like that. She supports people like that. To me, that's not social justice warrior. That is just insanity. Now, oh yeah, but it was a joke. And you can see they had 3 people on the CBC. JJ, I can't remember his name, the guy with the funky hair anyway. I don't always agree with everything he says, but he usually brings up good points. I do like him that side. And then they had a Liberal candidate and a NDP candidate. Of course, the Liberal and the NDP candidate, they're like, well, it was a bad speech, but, she was probably just a little drunk. Oh, she was, just make excuse after excuse, right? But let's put it this way. If it was a conservative candidate that had done this, there would be no let up in the media whatsoever. It would be take it to the ringer. Look, okay, Rob Ford, okay, yeah, Elizabeth May's nowhere down to that level, but look at that, look at him. Like, I mean, anything the guy said was just, they run it for weeks, you know what I mean? So they bring her on, let her basically suck up to the public type of thing, but, I mean, people are not that stupid. Well, some are, but, most people are not that stupid. They get that this lady's a crazy lady, maybe not crazy, but you get it, she's a closet asshole. That would be the best. Like Thomas Mulcair, he's kind of the same, but he plays his cards a little closer to his chest, I think. One thing, but Thomas Mulcair, he does tell you, like, to me, he'd be a scary dictator, a dictator. I think Elizabeth May would just be complete disarrayment. Some good ideas, sure, I agree. Restore the Bank of Canada, 100%. I agree with you on that. But just about everything else is just doesn't. 2 + 2 don't make 5. None of these people on the left ever went to school. None of them, because they just, well, we're going to promise you this. Like, where do you think all the money comes from? How, they don't understand 2 + 2 don't make 5. They just can't get it. You can't pay for more things than you can't spend more money than you make, period. And you can't spend your way out of debt either. It just doesn't work. But, that's what but the thing is how many people realize it. And the problem is people get very involved with a candidate. Now, over one incident, you can't say, no, I'm not going to vote for them because of one screw up. Look, even Harper's done it too. Where, drunk on public and stuff like that. All of them have done it, But you have to look at what they stand for. And when the one thing I like about these blurbs and outbursts and stuff like that is it's kind of like they let the Jekyll and Hyde thing go. And, when they do, you kind of get a glimpse of what they're really, really about. And that I think says a lot in terms of how you should vote or whatever. Or what to consider when they're voting, what is this person going to do to my country? And right now, unfortunately, the most stable is the conservatives. Now, they're not really conservatives, they're socialist fascist, government and business in bed together, you have fascism, and they're globalists, so they're obviously socialist fascists. Government's been getting bigger, not smaller. So they're definitely socialist. What type of socialism? Well, that one, they cut here, they give there. Rob Peter, pay Paul. That's the way government is. And that's how you have to look at government. It's an either or. You can have unlimited health care, but you might have to give up paved roads. You could have beautiful paved roads everywhere, but you might have to give up healthcare, that type of thing. Because there's only so much money, so much budget. Problem with people like Elizabeth May and Justin Trudeau and Thomas Mulcair is none of them understand that. Listen, look, I'm in Quebec. I'm under NDP right here. Taxes have went up exponentially. So I got Liberals and NDP here. Taxes are going through the roof. They're bringing in carbon taxes on top of that. They're taxing the people to death. So the thing is, you know, like these people, they promise you everything, but they just can't deliver. Look at Kathleen Wynne in Ontario there. They voted for her because that's government workers basically voting to keep their jobs. But the lifeboat is starting to sink anyway. They're going to have to lay off people no matter what. Thing is do you do it willingly or do you wait till everything collapses? That's the thing. Most people don't want to take the short-term pain. You know, budgets will balance themselves at some point. Things become insolvent. Greece, Spain, Italy. There you go. You know, it doesn't matter how much the government has promised people. And the worst is when you breed an entitlement mentality, particularly government workers. You know, my union's going to do this for me. My pension. You know, they don't understand that it's this. You know, it is fragile. And I'm not bashing on government workers. All of them, I get it. A lot of them get it. You know, like that. Hey, you know what? I'm lucky to have the job I have. Because it could be gone like that. You know, it's one election away from, you know, but and now we don't have to just factor in elections. We also have to factor in rough economy. Again, the private sector is what makes the private sector is what pays for the public sector. And this is what, you know, when the public sector gets too big, the private sector just can't compete. I mean, right now you have, again, a disparity between 17% and 37% is the average between a private sector person and a government employee counterpart makes that much more. You know, the average government employee costs $140,000 a year when you add up all the benefits. Now, they might not get paid $140,000, but when you add up the sick leave and this and that and all that stuff adds up. And of course, everybody's the same. Don't cut a single cent, you know, and give me a wage increase. And the thing is, at some point, you can't. It doesn't matter if you promise to, you can't. That's what Greece, Spain, and Italy are dealing with. They can't. They're broke, you know. And the thing with Elizabeth May, like, I mean, again, you know, she doesn't understand. We're broke. But to a person like that, they're so crazy in their mentality that, you know, they're just fiscally irresponsible. I don't really care what the social program is, as long as the people are for it and we can afford it. That's you know. And if we have to go in debt for something, it has to be something extremely beneficial. For example, healthcare. Most people in Canada say, okay, you know what, I'm glad we don't have to pay directly out of pocket. The average person, if you were to divide it up equally, pays about $9,000 a year, $6,000 to $9,000 a year for healthcare. However, if you make less than $12,000 a year, well, particularly here in Quebec, it might be different in other provinces, but typically under $15,000 a year, you pretty much don't pay any tax. So it's, yes, the wealthy people, the middle class and the wealthy people that are paying for you. You know, a lot of people don't get it like that. Like, the taxes aren't evenly distributed amongst the population. It's the more you earn, the more they take, right? I think once you get to $50,000 a year, they're almost taxing you at like 45%. So, really, you know what I mean? At some point, you know, when you hear the tax the rich, well, what do you classify as rich? You know, the government classifies middle class as rich, hence why middle class is disappearing. You know, that type of thing. Well, and when you get rid of most of the middle class, the actual rich factor don't, you know, sure, the multi-billionaire corporations, you could tax them a little more, sure. But even at that, it's still, there's only so much money. And there's billion-dollar corporations are a lot less than the average common middle-class person. You know, so you get more money out of the middle class than you do out of the corporations. So taxing the big corporations doesn't really gain you that much. And if you only tax the corporations, you still wouldn't have enough. And this is what these people don't understand. It's, you pay me now, pay me later. And pay me later always means mass job losses, you know, an economic reset. And again, I'm not saying Elizabeth May doesn't have some intelligence, but, you know, I've listened to the lady speak a few times, but again, they're just not, I don't care if you're left wing or right wing, you have to be fiscally responsible. Meaning, if we can't pay for it, we can't have it. And you have to explain it to the people. The problem is what particularly the Liberals do and the NDP is try to emotionally get people to go along with it. $7 a day daycare sounds great, okay? Sounds great, but at what cost? You know, that type of thing. Meanwhile, how about you just deregulate? You know, let parents choose. You know, their little Sally pigtails down the street to be the babysitter. Let them do it. Let them deal with it. Problem is government overreach is just too much right now, to the point where everything is so heavily regulated that you have to pay for everything, and it's not sustainable. Again, also too, you see what they advocate for. Again, if she's advocating for Omar Khadr, which I don't think she's going to, and she's in a catch-22 now. She's already fessed her support for that. It just that statement, "Welcome back, Omar Khadr." No, welcome back, Khadr. It was Omar Khadr. Really does kind of hit the nail on the head that what issues she's going to pretty much go towards. We'll have such an open door immigration system that it's guaranteed to backfire on the country even worse than what it is now. Right now, we have probably the best immigration system in the world. It's just we're bringing in too many people. We have the best standards, so most of our immigrants actually do not too bad. But just to open the floodgates, that's what this tells me. That's what this tells me. It's a nightmare to even think that they would get there. And that's probably why they haven't gotten that far, because most people understand that. But you have to understand the NDP is the exact the same, but they're worse. They're even further left. They're socialist communist. Somebody asked me, where do you find out about the party? Well, you can go to their website. They don't have a mission statement. Again, they don't come out and tell you what they really are. I remember when they caught the guy in, I guess it was Saskatchewan, and I think it was in Saskatchewan where it was either Saskatchewan or Manitoba where the party got its origins, but pretty sure Saskatchewan. But anyway, I think it was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, they catch this guy who has direct links to the Communist Party of China. Like, he was basically a Communist Party member in China that came here to Canada and immigrated, whatever, and joined the NDP. And they were talking to now retired Vic Toes, kind of a love him or hate him guy. He was conservative, and they were saying, "Did you know that they had ties to the Communist Party?" He goes, "Yeah." Well, what do you think about it? Well, everybody knows that, but not everybody does. And he's like, yeah, their party got founded pretty much supported by communists. Like literally, because the Communist Party at the time was banned in Canada. That's why you have it. Now, Tommy Douglas, yes, okay, for the medical care and stuff like that. I would say they were more socialist. Tommy Douglas, basically, Donald Sutherland's dad, and Kiefer Sutherland, the actors and stuff like that. So Tommy Douglas was kind of the guy who really got the NDP going. Kind of like the pre-Jack Layton. Jack Layton took it to where it is now. Thomas Mulcair is now riding the wave of Jack Layton. But however, Thomas Mulcair, if you really listen to that man, he is scary. Number one, he's handing the country over to the United Nations. Agenda 21 would be fully enforced. Period. The man's communist. Like, the man is communist. You listen to how he speaks. He speaks a socialist, but his heart's a communist. And I'm pretty sure Thomas Mulcair would be a big-time dictator too. I mean, look, I'm in an NDP country, you might as well say, over here. I mean, following Karl Marx's 10 Pillars of Communism, again, the taxes are going up, the carbon taxes. And the liberals I think are a little bit more right-wing. They're closer to the center. But the liberals, when I was a kid, were a lot more centered than what they are now. They're way more left. The liberals are actually socialists. So they're kind of, I wouldn't say center-left, but they're closer to center-left, but they're moving more left. They're more socialist. NDP, socialist communist, more socialist now than communist. But if the indicators are like I say, I'm pretty sure we're going to see an NDP government. And Thomas Mulcair is probably going to be the next Prime Minister of Canada. God help us. Just the law of averages. After 3 terms, usually prime ministers, there's usually regime change after people try something different. But the thing is most voters are ignorant. I'm not calling Albertans stupid. I'm not. But man, you guys did a stupid thing by electing the NDP. Like, I get it. It was a protest vote, but man, this is going to kick you in the nutsack so hard. I know what you're facing. I had the worst of all worlds. I had the Parti Québécois and the NDP. Okay, that's what I have here in Quebec. Year and a half of Parti Québécois, we ousted them, and we got the Liberals back. So the ones that we ousted in the first place. People don't understand. You got to go to the right. You can't. NDP is not an option. Man, you guys are gonna get it so bad. I'm laughing because it's like it's not bittersweet. It's just like, oh, this will teach them. This will teach them. If we had a reign of 40 years of conservatism in Alberta, this is going to like staple at the next election. It's gonna be like 400 years of conservatism. We're never, great grandfathers are gonna, or grandkids are gonna be like, my grandfather suffered the NDP, and the kids will be like, don't tell us about it. Oh, we're having nightmares. Socialism. Okay, anyway, you get the idea. Okay, joking aside, but you get it. You guys are in for a rough ride. I'm just telling you that right now. Day 1, you won't notice it, but by day 50, you're going to notice it. Again, nothing has gotten cheaper in Quebec. Mind you, this is probably the leftist of the country, but, we got leftists and Marxists. We got a lot of Marxism, more like the Parti Québécois, Bloc Québécois. They're Marxist. They're complete Marxist. They call them nationalist Marxist. Yeah, you could, but they're more Marxist than nationalist. Again, it's not what they say; it's the policies, right? And then, of course, you got the Liberals in Ontario. Again, that's a sinking ship out of desperation. That's the Titanic hit the iceberg, and people are trying to scramble for the lifeboats. Mainly, the government workers voted away. Tim Hudak is what they needed. The problem is, I think Tim Hudak came off a little bit too quick to cut the government down. And again, when most of your economy in Ontario is government workers, they're voting to keep their jobs. Problem is they're going to lose their jobs anyway. That's the harsh realities of too much. So I'm not against socialism completely. Again, if you could pay for it, fine. You run a little bit of a deficit, that's one thing. But to run deficit after deficit after deficit, you just can't do it, right? And with Kathleen Wynne, I mean, they're already tired. But it's the who do we vote for? There's nobody to vote for. Like in the States and in Europe and all that. I think if there's a time for a new party, a right-wing party all over the place, libertarian parties. Now, we do have the Libertarian Party of Canada. I don't agree with the open border idea that they have. You come here, if you leave us alone, we'll leave you alone. I get the idea of the libertarianism, but that's too far for me. We have to protect the border, period. Any country that has open borders usually has mass problems. I don't know, Bolivia, how are they doing? I think they're like the third or fourth, highest crime rate in the world. Syria, how are they doing with their open borders? I wonder how they're doing. Libya with their open borders, I wonder how they're doing. Somalia with their open borders, I wonder how they're doing. Oh, but that's different. They're not first world countries. That's why. That's why. The top murder capital of the world is, South America. All the top, most highest crime rate places in the world are in South America. Yeah. I think Honduras is like third. I'm trying to think of who number one. It's always like Honduras, Venezuela, those type of places, Bolivia, and what's the other one? Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue here. It's usually always the worst. But the thing is they have no border control. They have no border control, so you have to have that. So I guess this is a bit of a rant. I guess I've ranted on it long enough now. But the Elizabeth May thing, it's like that psychopathic kind of politician that nothing's ever their fault. They never take accountability. Just once I would love to see a politician come out and say, you know what, I screwed up. Now, Mike Duffy, there we go. Well, I did everything that was entitled to me. Technically, this guy probably didn't break any laws whatsoever. Now, that said, $140,000 versus the billions and billions of dollars of the liberal scams, okay, it's scandal-like for sure. But it just gives you the mindset of these people, how entitled they think they are. There was a senator saying, well, I had to go and travel, and I only was able to drink the cheap wine and basically have this kind of a meal. I'm like, the fact that your meal is paid for, again, these people, they're definitely not humble. They don't know what it's like to struggle. And their entitlement mentality is just, but that is a government mentality. That is a government employee mentality. I'm entitled because. And I know a lot of people that work in the government that do watch my videos probably take offense to that. But government is welfare. Understand that. I'm not saying it as a derogatory term. It's a literal term. You have to take money from the private sector to pay for. And if it's, again, you got over, I forget, something like 100,000 people in Ontario that make over $100,000 a year in the government. Exactly what jobs require them to be paid that much? You know what I mean? Plus benefits and everything like that, That's craziness. That's craziness, right? So obviously it's not sustainable. We need to go back to more of like a Sir John A. Macdonald type of government where you kept a receipt for everything you spent. and it better be within regulation. He never ran a deficit. Yeah, okay, times have changed, but when you do the parallels, it would have been a lot easier to scam things back then than it is now. And I'm pretty sure they were. But we need to go back to that mindset of the taxpayer. The politicians and the government workers work for the taxpayer, but we need to shrink the government. And with people like Elizabeth May and Thomas Mulcair and Justin Trudeau, look, if Harper's expanding the government, you think the other ones are not going to? Of course they're going to. So anyway, I guess I'll leave it at that. That's my rant for the day on that. It's just something It's something that I guess I'll leave it on one last thing, is that guy JJ, I think, not JJ Clarkson, whatever his name is, the guy with the funky hair, he says, look, I listened to the whole speech, and she goes, it was just a kind of your typical kind of, I guess you would call it social justice warrior type of mentality, where I'm so perfect because I'm trying to do this for everybody, and it's completely psychopathic. And he goes, it wasn't that she was drunk. Everybody said, oh, well, she probably, blurted out because she was drunk. And even her, if you take her at her word, she said, no, I wasn't drunk. I had a little bit of glass of wine. It's just I was under a cold and whatever, all the excuses she had. Look, I get grumpy when I, and stay up late and feeling under the weather. Yeah, I get grumpy too. But if I'm going to a public event, I'll hold my tongue. You know what I mean? So he goes, no. He says, I've listened to her whole speech. He says, I've listened to her many times. That's just how she is. She's snarky like that. A lot of times they try to hide stuff like that. But eventually your true colors show. And like we know, leopards don't change their spots. So, yeah, just things, we can't no longer live in a time where we can afford to stay ignorant on our politicians, because they really can do a lot of damage through stupidity, through sinisterism, if that's a word, and definitely through friggin' just crazy ego, nut job kind of stuff. Oh, look, it's nice and sunny out now. What? How'd that happen? Okay, well, anyway, I guess we'll leave it at that. So, if you like this kind of content, please consider making a donation to the channel. Thank you to everyone much who has. Rate, subscribe, share, comment, like. Take advantage of the comments. Maybe you disagree with every single thing I said. Put it down below. I never censor my comments. I don't believe in censorship at all. But if you're going to be a troll, at least be creative about it, because I hate stupid trolls that are, you're stupid. I was like, I'm not even going to respond to that. I was like, put some effort into it. Next to that, if you're going to argue amongst yourselves, try to keep it civil. Again, these things are open for debate. One of the best things I find about YouTube, I say time and time again, is the fact that you can interact with it. You can't do that with your TV. I mean, you can scream and yell at your TV, but usually you get nothing back, you know what I mean? But so take advantage of the comments. Rate, subscribe, share, comment, like, be true to yourself, be true to others, and always do the right thing. Have yourselves a great day, eh? G'day, hi, and welcome. I have no idea what it's going to do today. It was cloudy about 45 seconds ago. Now it's kind of sunny-ish, kind of cloudy-ish. Then it was raining, and now it's sunny again. I don't know. That's the kind of day it's been. I'm just going to show you something there before we get into the video. I know. It's like, why did I just get a video? I got valuable internet time. You're wasting. Okay. Just want to show you the beautiful green. That's like one day of like a fair amount of rain. Just like one day. Basically, the grass has grown 4 inches in one day. Like, just had to show you that. It's kind of nice. Actually, I should be outside anyway, but I really don't know what it's going to do. It's going to get cloudy, and I don't think it's supposed to really clear until tomorrow. So anyway, let's get into this. Elizabeth May, she is basically the leader of the Green Party. The Green Party, basically, they're so far left, you pretty much got to feed them with a slingshot. I wouldn't call them Marxist. I wouldn't call them, they're definitely socialist. I mean, one of the platforms that Elizabeth May goes on is basically how to increase, welfare benefits, unemployment insurance, and stuff like that. Again, rather than worry about creating jobs and stuff like that, it's always more welfare and bigger government. And it's not sustainable. One thing, there are sometimes she does make good points, I'll give her that. I do agree, yes, we do need to restore the Bank of Canada. I still don't know how that lawsuit's turning out. They're keeping an awful big hush-hush on that. I can't see it ever, the globalists will never allow the Bank of Canada to be restored. That would be too much sovereignty for a country, I think. Maybe someday we'll get an actual leader that is, cares about the country and not, globalism. But, we've set ourselves up for globalism, so we have to ease our way out of that to get rid of it all in one night while it'll collapse the economy. So you got to be sensible about these things. But the kind of social justice warrior mentality, or what I call the communist student, or whatever, uh, sometimes comes out in this lady. And I don't. I'll be honest with you, I don't follow her that much because she's not official opposition and stuff like that. And some people say, well, they don't let her in on the debates and stuff like that. But she's not opposite. She's not the opposition party. Like she's elected, sure, but she's not very high on the food chain there. So Parliament's still following its protocol. So if it was there's other parties that are elected that are very, very, very small, even smaller than the Green Party, and they don't get a say in the leader debates and stuff like that either. So. So it is what it is, right? So, but I think this it's going to be something that anybody that was voting for the Green Party might think second. Well, I don't know. It's hard to say because usually when they're that far left, they're voting based upon emotion, nothing to do with common sense whatsoever. Now, her so-called attempt at being funny speech, you could clearly tell that's damage control. Like that's she wasn't trying to be funny. She was being snarky. I didn't see the whole speech, but just the bit I saw of it. Well, number one, running over time in this kind of speech, different party members from different parties, get to basically do this big lunch or whatever, and they go up and they talk. And I guess I don't know what the whole event's really about. I mean, other than pandering to people that waste of taxpayers' dollars, in my opinion. Because it's not really campaigning. It's not really doing. It's again, a waste of taxpayers' dollars. But anyway, point is she's there. And she's going on about bleep the Parliament, the House, and whatever. And Omar Khadr has more class than Harper, that type of thing. And welcome home Omar Khadr and stuff like that. That is what scares me. Why? Because this lady actually meant that. She wasn't trying to be funny. You could tell when somebody's trying to be funny. That she wasn't trying to. She even sounded a little bit slurred. Maybe, who knows? She said, "Okay, well, there was no. I wasn't drunk. I did. There was a little bit of. I had some wine, but I had a cold and excuse after excuse. I'd love to see a politician just come and say, you know what? I really screwed up. I am so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. My bad. I did it. I have nobody to blame but me." People would actually respect that. People would actually say, fall on your sword once in a while. Don't scapegoat it. Oh, it's because I had a cold. Oh, I was just trying to be funny and it didn't work. Oh, well. No,